I've been very influenced by people like Dr. David Sinclair and Ray Kurzweil talking about longevity, escape velocity, and these scientists who are trying to treat aging as a disease and potentially a managed disease, much like cancer is becoming. And that, that seems like science fiction stuff. And even Yuval Noah Harari, who talked about immortality in the book Sapiens, meaning you're going to die, but it's not going to be diabetes or cancer or even neurological diseases. It's going to be something else, a meteor, maybe a bus. But this idea, immortality, what are you talking about? But these people have been very influential in the way I'm thinking about aging. And I just wonder, based on what you know about aging and aging research, what is your vision for the future of aging?
I mean, I would love to get another 20 years out of it and live as if I was 60 during those 20 years. From my understanding of aging, which, full disclosure, we're not an age and tech thing, right? We're working with some biological strong constructs we think are more finite. I am all for it. I mean, one of the things that we're seeing, this disease of cognitive decline, and, a lot of those are effects of aging and, genes going awry. They're not necessarily the brain just degrading on its own merit. They're a breakdown in a biological function, right? So, I mean, there's some promising research coming up around gene therapy for mental health related or cognitive decline diseases. I can't say I'm an expert, but I've read on it in passing and it looks very exciting. So I would say that, again, much like yourself, I've been influenced by those things, right? I'm a huge science fiction fan. And so I think it would be really awesome to survive to 120, but live it as if you were 60 and then go out on a different accord rather than being reduced to a bed and, limited mobility and, loss of memory. Like, that's a hard way to go.
I feel the same way. And what I tell people is, the life expectancy in the United States in 1900 was 42.
Right.
And now it's almost double that.
Right.
And there's so much money and research going into fighting diseases and aging gracefully. And even, my grandfather retired at 62 and he was old and decrepit. I'm 6 years younger than that. And, I feel like I'm probably in my 30s. That's kind of how I feel, at least mentally. That's the way that I feel.
Well, you look great for your 50s.
Thank you. And I just, what I want people to understand is the way that they're going to age doesn't have to be the way that a generation or two generations ago aged. It's going to be different. And there's a lot of exciting advances that are happening.
Yeah, I'll say this. So this is wild, right? And there's also, everyone has their own genetic clock, right? So my wife's grandmother is still alive at 105. And now, to be fair, she's 105. So, but, she looks as if she's probably in her late 80s. It is wild how some people just stumble upon this genetic lottery and they have a Blue Zone-esque type life, right? And they are just living, man. And so, now granted, she's mostly operating as if she was about a 7-year-old at this point, and she's surrounded by family. But, I mean, that's not such a bad life. 7-year-olds are typically very happy. So, I wouldn't mind that.
Cogensus is using AI in an innovative way to meet the needs of elderly adults. And I wonder, what are some other interesting innovations that can be AI or they can be otherwise related to helping older adults flourish?
The ones that I find most interesting are the biometric risk profiles. So there's a lot of people are using AI and traditional machine learning. So let's be clear. There's two kinds of AI. There's AI, which is a whole bunch of things. And then there's generative AI, which is the newer one, right? So when I say AI, it applies to all things. But the risk profiles that they're looking at for predictive care are things like your temperature, your weight, your movement patterns, a whole host of things. And then correlating that into, points of concern. Those points of concern could actually be down to within the hours of, 10 o'clock at night to 11 at night, you're this much more likely to fall down. So we're going to put a nurse on your floor at that time. That's unbelievably innovative. And it's not necessarily looking at a new technology as a barrier. It's saying, what can we do with all this data we have today? So I think that's an exciting one that we're going to see start to really take hold in the next couple of years. Additionally, around Cogensus, but not directly, is in 2021, they identified these things called social determinants of health. Social determinants of health are non-medical factors that affect your health. And since then, they've been talking about it in a lot of different circles about how these directly or indirectly impact your health.
This is like education, income,
exactly.
Environment.
Yes. And loneliness is actually one of them. So social connectedness is a specific category within them. But yeah, as you said, it's economic instability, it's education level, it's where you were born and where you live. I think there's about 15 categories, and then they have subs. But what we're seeing is a lot of healthcare institutions are starting to more broadly look at that and say, okay, we weren't looking at these, but in a lot of cases, those directly affect your recovery times, your readmission rates, a whole bunch of like really clear physical intervention points. And so I think those being added into these risk profiles, we're going to get much more granular, personalized health going forward, which, to your point, that actually could very much extend our lifespans, right? Or extend how we age, because a lot of the things that get you are those surprises, right? You have a heart attack one day and now you're weaker going forward for the next 20 years because you've got damage, right? If someone knew that was coming and could say a year in front, you are at severe risk of a heart attack within the next 6 months, we need to do blank procedure, right? Or we need to get you on this medicine. You could bring down a number of, extreme events or intervention points that would just let everyone live more gracefully and just age better, right? And those aren't like, the reason those are exciting to me is because it's not sci-fi, where it's like, oh, we've got an AI that knows what you're thinking and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. But they're just data points. And their systems exist to build it today. It's just that our healthcare models, particularly in the United States, were not built around that. They were built around intervention, right? So now we're looking more at a predictive lens, and that's really cool.